Rolf, welcome back. It's great to have you. Those who are looking for signs of relief in the chain usually point to Chinese New Year, which is coming up quickly. I wonder, is it going to have any impact this year?
Well, it's probably still a little bit early to tell, but it looks like Omicron has made life a little bit more complex. I've always been cautiously optimistic that after Chinese New Year in 2022, things would get a bit better. But I do think that in the end, it all depends on when the situation normalizes, and that could still be, somewhere in the first half of the year. But it could also take a little bit longer. It remains very difficult to predict.
Yeah, your point about Omicron, B of A's got a note out today. Although the wave appears to be close to its peak in the U.S., it's barely taking grip in most Asian countries. Are you in a period now where you're waiting to see how it develops in key ports of entry in Asia?
Yeah, of course, that's a key question. I mean, right now, I think over the last couple of weeks, the situation in the Asian ports has actually improved a little bit. But you're absolutely right that it's still uncertain whether Omicron will also hit there, and more importantly, what the impact of it will be. And that, of course, depends also on how they will act and whether they will change any of their existing policies.
Rolf, it's Morgan. What will normalization look like? And I ask that because we're coming off of a record 2021 in terms of profitability for shipping companies such as yourself. I saw the Bloomberg article over the weekend saying that longer-term rates that are being negotiated in contracts right now are 200% higher than they were a year ago, which sounds like we're looking at freight costs that could, at least from a shipping perspective, that could drag on at elevated levels for months, if not years to come. Give us a sense of what new normal looks like as we do come out of this pandemic.
I mean, I think, first of all, it's very difficult to see when we're exactly going to get out of it. But I agree with you that, freight rates will likely remain elevated for a while. And what we, of course, also see is that also cost is going up. We see fuel going up. We see charter rates going also through the roof. We see the cost at all kinds of inland and terminals also going up. So for sure, we will not get back to the levels that we've had in 2018 to 2019. Having said that, I would still expect that somewhere in the course of 22, we're going to see an easing of the market.
Yeah, of course. The ports on the West Coast here in the U.S. have been getting so much attention because there's been so much gridlock, record numbers of ships that have been idling off the coasts. You got chassis restrictions that are factoring into that, empty container restrictions that are factoring into that. You got the Harbor Trucking Association saying that those restrictions are slowing down the supply chain. According to our own Lorianne Laraco, senior Biden administration officials telling CNBC that they're speaking with the ocean carriers about some of these issues. How are you working with officials and navigating some of this congestion at the ports, and how quickly will that process take?
I mean, we are talking also, of course, to officials, and we're trying to do whatever we can to help relieve the congestion. The reality of it is, though, that it's quite a complex situation because it's not only one factor that causes it, but as you already pointed out earlier, I mean, it's the entire supply chain from the ships that arrive in the port to the handling in the port. Then we have the rail that needs to move quite a lot of boxes inland. And then we have the trucking situation. And of course, all of that together causes, combined with a pandemic, which results in serious shortage of labor in many places, for some pretty serious problems. In the end, I personally think it's only really going to turn when we see all the people coming back to work, and we'll have most of this, hopefully, last COVID wave behind us.
Well, there has been some discussion of having an empty container fee at the Port of L.A. That they might impose. Is that something that you would fight against?
I mean, in the end, fees alone will never solve this problem. But I do understand what they try to achieve. And I would also say that when you look at the last 6 to 10 weeks, we have seen a reduction in long-dwelling containers. And I believe that also the number of empties that we, for instance, have out there has come down actually quite a lot. So to put pressure on parties to do whatever they can to relieve the pressure, that makes, of course, sense. Yeah? Whether fees alone normally don't resolve that problem.